In the thick woods outside Blackville, a young girl was out of breath and couldn't run anymore. She had lost her bearings in the forest, and when she turned around, she finally saw her pursuer and was shocked. 14! The pursuer counts.
No! Why? What are you doing? You, of all people, I trusted you. How could, why?
And 16! The killer counts again. Taking a deep breath as Skylar breathes her last, with tears in her eyes, shock all over her face, and stabs all over her body. In Star City, West Virginia, Dave and Mary Neese woke up to a humid morning on Friday, July 6, 2012. Mary headed into the kitchen to prepare breakfast, while Dave huddled to get ready for work. With a good morning peck on the cheek, Mary handed Dave his black decaf.
Honey, go wake the princess up. Breakfast's almost ready.
Skylar 16, love. But I'll try.
Try harder, or we'll both be late to work.
Dave and Mary loved their daughter Skylar. Mary worked as an assistant at a nearby cardiac lab, while Dave was a product assembler at Walmart. Skylar had taken after her hardworking parents and wanted to pursue criminal defense law after school. The three always had breakfast together, and Dave, after he blew Mary a kiss, took the stairs and upon reaching the door, gave it a soft knock.
Skylar, wakey wakey, eggs and bakey.
There was no response. He waited a few seconds and then knocked again.
Don't tell me you're still tucked in.
Dave was a little surprised as Skylar usually woke up without him or Mary having to knock on her door. He tried a third time, again with no luck. A little concerned, he opened the door partially and saw that Skylar wasn't in her bed. He then walked in to find that Skylar wasn't in her room either. Thinking that she could be in the bathroom, he called for his daughter again.
Skylar? Are you in there?
Dave realized that the shower wasn't on, but what concerned him the most now was Skylar's silence. He immediately twisted the door open and saw that Skylar wasn't in. Confused, his eyes suddenly fell upon the bedroom window that was open, with a stool placed right under it. He then leaned over, looked down, and saw another stool placed right outside it.
Did you just sneak out, Skylar?
Skylar wasn't one to sneak out. Even if she hung out with her friends, she'd always be back before dusk. Realizing that this daughter was actually missing, he was really worried.
Mary! Come here now!
What? Where's Sky?
She snuck out of the room last night.
Dave pointed to the open window, and Mary too saw the stool and was surprised. This had never happened before.
She what now? Call Sheila or Rachel. They're always together, thick as thieves. She must be with them.
Oh yes! The Three Musketeers of Freshmen. I'm calling Sheila right now.
On the third ring, Sheila picked up the phone.
Hello, Mr. Neese?
Sheila? I'm calling about Sky.
No, Mr. Neese. We haven't spoken today. Why? Is there a problem?
Sheila, Sky isn't home. You, Sky, and Rachel are best friends and do everything together. Tell me anything you know because we are getting really worried now.
I don't know anything, Mr. Neese. I'm sorry.
When was the last time you spoke to Sky?
Last night at about 12 midnight.
Okay, I'll call back. Stay available.
With that, the conversation came to an end. Dave turned to Mary, looking perplexed.
She might be out for a run. We should relax. I think it's best for us to calm down.
The ominous hours turned to days, the days to weeks and months without anyone hearing a word about Skylar. No one had seen her or knew where she had gone. 6 months later, on the 3rd of January, 2013, the phone rang at FBI Officer Paula Banks' office.
Hello, this is Paula Banks, FBI, the Special Investigator's Office.
This is Dave. Where's my daughter? It's been 6 months already.
Paula didn't know what to say to a broken father and mother. It had been unbearably painful for the couple to wait for Skylar to return home for half a year.
Sir, we're trying our best. We're questioning everyone on the campus and building the chronology.
Just then, the voice of a young girl interrupted her conversation with Dave. Paula disconnected the call and turned to find a red-headed teenage girl who had just walked into her cabin. She was shivering with fear, like she had seen a ghost, and stood in front of Paula.
Are you alright, young lady? You seem quite rattled.
Suddenly, the young girl started to shout and scream in a fit of panic. It was as if she was possessed and having a seizure. Like the average American small town, Blacksville, located near Star City, Pennsylvania, was a place one would pass on the freeway. It held no particular significance apart from its friendly and family-oriented neighborhoods and a closely knitted community. But the peace of this balmy town was wrecked forever soon after 16-year-old Skylar Neese disappeared without a trace. 6th of July 2012, Dave and Mary Neese had waited long enough. Skylar had not called nor left a message or hint of her whereabouts for hours. With no leads coming, they decided that it was time to seriously start searching for her and called the emergency line.
911, what is your emergency?
This is Dave Neese. I live at 501 Crawford Avenue. I have a 16-year-old daughter who apparently snuck out of her room last night. She has not been home, nor can we get a hold of her from her friends. I'm scared to death.
Has she done this before?
No.
Sir, we will dispatch an immediate response team to your house to inspect the matter right away.
Dave and Mary had no choice but to now wait. They had been on tenterhooks, and every conceivable situation ran through their minds, circumstances that a parent could otherwise never imagine their child could be in. As a mother, Mary sat fidgeting by the kitchen as she couldn't help but imagine the worst-case scenarios.
What if she went directly to Wendy's? Maybe her phone died or got stolen, and she clocked in directly to contact us?
Dave was himself preoccupied. Confusion, fear, uncertainty, and hope all raced through his mind. He doted on Skylar since she was a baby and had been more than a father to her. He was her best friend and confidant and didn't understand why his baby would go incognito on him like this. Looking at her husband lost in thought, Mary tried to reassure him.
Dave, honey, she might directly reach work and then call us. She is a responsible girl.
When Dave turned to Mary, she saw that his face had turned gloomy and he looked disheartened.
How can we be sure of anything, Mary?
Because it's either that or accepting the fact that our daughter has officially disappeared, the uncertainty of which I can't deal with, Dave.
Fine. I'll give Wendy's a call around 4 p.m. and see if Sky is clocked in at work.
While attending freshman, Skylar would work at the local fast food outlet 5 days a week. She loved the place and was never particularly late to work. Dave and Mary now had no choice but to now pin their hopes on whether their daughter had clocked in at work that morning. However, to their utter surprise, the phone rang just as the clock struck 4:30 p.m. It was Jim, the manager at Wendy's.
Hey Mary, is Skylar there? She hasn't turned up at work yet and didn't leave a prior message either about her absence. This hasn't happened before. I just wanted to check up on her.
What? We were going to call you about Sky. Oh God!
Mary put the phone by the side and crashed on the couch. Dave picked it up and spoke.
Jim, Skylar has been missing since the morning. We're scared to death about her well-being.
It might be one of those sleepovers. You know how teens are these days, Dave. I wouldn't lose hope yet. Have you spoken to the police?
Yes, I've called 911. They should be on their way now.
I wouldn't worry then, pal. They will find her.
With that, Dave thanked Jim and hung up the phone.
Shit! When the hell is the police going to be here? I think we should call 911 again. They should have been here by now!
Just as she spoke, the doorbell rang.
Well, it's about time!
Dave rushed to the front door and swung it open. But it wasn't the police. It was Sheila, who was shivering and in tears as she almost stumbled into the house. When he looked at Sheila, he turned around to Mary, who was just as confused as him.
Oh dear! What happened? Are you okay? I can't do this anymore.
Here, take a seat first. Mary, please get a glass of water for her.
Mary rushed to get a glass of water and sat beside Sheila on the couch, holding her and calming her down.
Is everything okay? What happened? I have to tell you the truth about what happened last night.
Dave and Mary looked at each other, shocked. Did Sheila know something about Skylar? Before Dave could speak, Mary took control of the situation and asked her politely.
It's okay, honey. You can tell us. It's about Skylar, Miss Neese. She was with us last night.
As she said this, tears started flowing out of her eyes as she wept uncontrollably in Mary's arms, who was now getting visibly more nervous and shaken by the second.
What were you girls up to last night? Tell us, honey. Anything that help us find our baby.
Sheila composed herself, drew a long breath, and turned to Mary.
We snuck out last night. Me, Rachel, and Skylar. We drove around town for a while before coming back when Skylar asked us to drop her off a few blocks from your house so that you don't wake up from the sound of the car. I didn't know it would be such a big mistake.
Dave and Mary had spent an entire weekend knocking door to door for their baby Skylar, who had vanished without as much as a trace. Back at the police station, Officer Cole examined the tape from the CCTV, one that could prove crucial to finding a big lead. In her cabin, she sat with a deputy and combed through the footage, grainy and poorly lit. She found it taxing to pinpoint any detail in the dark.
Can't we somehow improve the visual quality any further, Robin? We can't see the license plate or the tire rims.
I'm afraid we can't, ma'am. This is the best I can do at the moment.
Cole took a final sip of her coffee, a hazelnut latte, and turned to fetch a fourth when she saw something that caught her attention.
Here, look. A sedan pulls to a stop outside the Neese house at 11 p.m. and their Skylar runs towards it. So, she did get in the car on her own willingly. No foul play. Yet.
Right. Sheila's story checks out.
Cole bit her lip. Something wasn't quite right about the whole scenario. Just then, something clicked in her head.
Wait a minute. Sheila said that she dropped Skylar off a few blocks away from the house soon after. In the grab, no one returns. Did she get dropped further away?
It's either that, or something happened to her on her way back home.
Did she get dropped back at all?
Skylar was 8 when she met Sheila, and the two instantly became best friends. The two had become so close that if they weren't together, they'd be on the phone literally 24 hours a day. After her disappearance came to light, Sheila became a regular visitor at the Neese residence and made it a point to comfort Dave and Mary every day through their most difficult time. On a particular Monday, when she didn't pay them a visit, the Neese couple felt a little lonely.
Honey, has Sheila not come today?
Not yet, hun. She's got school and classes. Life goes on.
I've gotten so used to her being here. I can almost feel Sky through her. She's like a daughter after all. It felt so good to have someone share our pain.
I felt the same and called her this morning. She didn't pick up.
Dave was interrupted by the doorbell. When he opened the door, he was surprised to see Sheila standing outside with a huge card in her hand. A smile instantly spread across Mary's face as Dave helped Sheila with the box and welcomed her in.
Such a relief, Sheila. We thought you would be coming in today. How could I, Mrs. N? The last thing I do is leave you both alone in such a difficult time. This package came in late this morning, and I was delayed. Let's open it now. We've got our work cut out for today.
When Dave opened the box, he saw stacks of printed missing person posters in it. Dave showed it to Mary, whose eyes immediately welled up. Sheila quickly went up to hug her.
You're an angel, sweetheart. We don't know how we would handle this whole thing without you. It's been so scary, with Skylar gone without a trace. And would you believe it? Since Sky was seen getting into your car willingly, they haven't issued an alert yet. I know, Miss Neese. That's why I got these. We are in this together. You two are like my parents, and Skylar's like my sister. We'll find her. Now let's get to work.
Dave and Mary were broken. They had driven through Star City and looked everywhere. From public parks to the supermarkets, movie theaters to malls, anywhere they thought their teenage daughter could be hanging out. They then headed out to meet Morgan Lawrence and Everett Hughes, both of whom Skylar had known since she was 3 years old. Morgan was one of Skylar's closest friends, and the two were inseparable, like sisters to one another. In fact, when they were kids, they had even decided they would be each other's bridesmaids. When Morgan opened her front door, she saw Dave, Mary, and Sheila looking frantic and exhausted.
Hello, Mrs. Neese. Mr. Neese. Hi, Sheila. This is a surprise. Please, come in. Morgan, Skylar hasn't come home the entire weekend. Have you seen her or know about her whereabouts? What? Skylar is missing? How? When did this happen?
Sheila told Morgan about the previous events, leaving her utterly stunned and worried.
I cannot believe this, Miss Neese. Oh my God. If there is anything I can do to help you, please tell me how.
The look of shock on Morgan's face was enough to convince Dave and Mary that she had no idea where Skylar was. Sheila and Mary then knocked door to door, sticking posters on walls, street lamps, pillars, and trees, while Dave also visited the local TV station to convey a message and his grief as a father.
Sweetheart, if you're scared, don't be. We are not angry with you. We can just talk and smooth things over. Just come back to us, baby. Please, come back.
Between all this, Dave wondered if Skylar had
How can that be? Her cell phone's at home, and so's the charger. Even her contact lens solution on her dresser, Dave.
Seeing Mary cry, Sheila tried comforting her by putting her arm around her as she wept uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Dave heard a knock on his car window. It was Officer Cole.
There is another theory, Mr. Neese. There were a couple of bank robberies in Blacksville this past week, and the stolen money was used to purchase drugs. Our colleagues from the other precinct have suggested that Skylar might be overdosed on heroin and disappeared shortly after. Now, I interviewed Sky's friends about Sheila. Morgan says that she is self-centered and manipulative, and Everett told us that Sky had confided that she was feeling snubbed. These are very different reactions, don't you think?
And where did these leads take you?
At the moment, nowhere, Mr. Dave. But we did check out social media accounts, and Sheila had posted photos of the trio that looked odd, like Skylar was hidden in the shadows, while Rachel, too, posted photos of herself on a boating trip. Just the day after Skylar was gone. Won't you think this is odd?
Officer, Sheila and Rachel picked up Sky at 11 p.m. on the night, drove around, and dropped her back before midnight. My daughter is no drug addict, officer. Her best friends have confirmed it, and they were the last ones to see her before she disappeared.
As Dave pulled out the station, Officer Cole kept staring at the car, as if pondering over what he had just said.
Mr. Neese, I'm a bulldog when it comes to my investigations. I don't care if it takes me 10 years to find Skylar, but I will.
When Dave reached home, Mary rushed to him and gave him a hug. Both she and Sheila had covered a lot of ground that day in meeting and talking to Skylar's classmates. Her friends Morgan, Everett, and Graham too posted messages on social media in a bid to reach out to Skylar and as many as possible in their circles to trace her location. Graham had been buried in a laptop until Dave had walked in, looking at everything and anything he could help the nieces with. Heaving his heavily set body up with some effort, he walked over to Dave.
Mr. Neese, Star City is a small town. We're just 2,000 in number. I feel that Skylar is probably missing due to someone close to her. Think of it. Star City doesn't have many cases of abductions. It isn't that difficult to figure out the perpetrator if it were an outsider.
Dave was too exhausted to listen to yet another teenager, but then again, Graham had been right. In Star City, everyone knew everyone else.
So what do you think happened, Graham?
I think someone close to Skylar is responsible for her disappearance.
So you're saying that the perpetrators are hiding in plain sight?
She was hanging out with Sheila and Rachel when the trio snuck out, right? We have asked everyone about Skylar, but what if there is a wolf in sheep's clothing?
Don't be ridiculous, Graham. Sheila has been with us every day, comforting us and helping us find Skylar. She has been spreading the word throughout the town, working tirelessly with us. Don't make this trivial. You're overthinking this.
Sometimes, the culprit can be right between us. It is widely whispered on the campus that Skylar was being edged out of the trio, and that her relationship with Sheila at the time of her disappearance wasn't good enough for them to go on nights out together. I mean, haven't you watched the video?
Video? What video?
The one they posted online, where they're playing a strange game? The timing of it just doesn't seem to fit their equation. I could be wrong, but everyone's talking about it on campus.
A game teenagers are playing? How old are you again, Graham?
I'm 17, Mr. Neese.
Well then, you'd better head home now. We'll take it from here.
Dave just couldn't digest the fact that a myth between sisterly friends could lead to his daughter's disappearance. How could he listen to teenagers on a serious case anyway? But truth be told, Dave was also a little startled. He had known about the Three Musketeers and the occasional photos they post online, but not about the video Graham had just mentioned. From the way Graham mentioned it, it sounded weird for sure. Dave sat in front of his laptop and played the video. In it were the three girls, Skylar, Rachel, and Sheila. Sheila had an expected officer call at her doorstep. Accompanied by her mother, she let her in.
There is something about you that I just cannot fucking understand.
Sheila was shocked and stared back at the policewoman with disbelief. Her mother, Megan, intervened.
Officer, you cannot talk to my daughter like this. How dare you?
Officer Cole smiled and simply turned to Sheila.
This was the post that Skylar shared on her Facebook and Twitter pages recently. She was obviously angry at someone. Wouldn't you say, Sheila? What? I don't know about this. How about this one? And I quote, I cannot believe someone can be so mean for no reason or hope that you don't expect me to give a fuck. #bye. Do any of these posts ring a bell?
Sheila looked perplexed, but Officer Cole wasn't done.
And last but not least, Skylar's post from 10:45 p.m. on the night of her disappearance. You doing shit like that is why I will never completely trust you.
As Megan and Sheila tried to process the turn of events, Cole then pulled her phone out and played the video that was now going viral. Toward the end, Sheila could see herself saying,
1. Would you rather get suffocated or shot? 2. Drowning or suffocating?
The video ended with Megan looking at her daughter like a spoiled brat who had just pulled a prank. She had a silly smile on her face, but Cole wasn't joining her glee.
How long have you known Skylar, Miss Sheila? Since we were 8, ma'am. Our parents know each other and so we became friends very early in our childhood. Since then, we have had our moments, of course, where we drifted apart. You know how school is, of course. But we always seem to find our way to each other. And yet, in your charts with Rachel after Skylar's disappearance, there is no mention of Skylar? Anyways, please describe the events of that night again, when you, Skylar, and Rachel snuck out. Me and Rachel picked Skylar up at around 11 p.m. Then we drove around town and dropped her back a few blocks before her house so that her parents didn't wake up from the sound of the car. Why did you girls drive so away from the city?
Sheila was a little taken aback, but quickly recalled the route.
We didn't. We started at Crawford Avenue and drove down University Avenue. Through Boyers Avenue, we joined the Monongahela Boulevard and merged with the WV7W. Then, from the Mason-Dixon Highway, we took a left towards the Little Indian Creek Road and found our way back to our starting point.
Officer Cole pulled out her phone once again and turned it towards Sheila and Megan.
At 12:39, your car was caught on camera driving away from Star City. This is a variation in your story of where you drove around. So, where were you headed? Oh yes, I forgot to mention. We dropped Skylar off and then headed to...
Sheila was now getting a little uncomfortable. Her mother Megan intervened a second time.
Officer, what you're implying? My daughter isn't the only one who snuck out of her house. Teenagers do that all the time. Please don't put words in her mouth. Now, if you don't mind, we'll like some privacy. We're grieving for Skylar's disappearance as it is.
Officer Cole got her cue. The questioning was over. Just before she exited the house, she turned to Sheila, who had come to see her off at the door.
Not just a grab on camera, Sheila. Your cell phone pings from cell phone towers place you in the backwoods town of Blacksville. One heck of a sneak out.
With that, Cole walked back to her patrol car, where Deputy Robin was waiting for her.
Any luck, ma'am?
Her answers were a little too convenient. I need more from her. But her mother snapped.
After questioning Sheila, Officer Cole knocked at Rachel's door. When the teenager entered the room, she looked visibly shaken by the series of events. She wasn't as calm as Sheila, and it showed. After a round of introductory questions, Officer Cole jumped straight into the matter and found out that Rachel had the exact same answers as Sheila. She copied her answers verbatim to what Sheila had told them a few minutes ago. This gave Officer Cole an idea. She decided to throw Rachel off by saying something she wouldn't expect.
So, what were you three doing in Blacksville?
Rachel suddenly looked at Cole, wondering what to say. After drawing a long breath in, she made a choice to give an answer with a thought that the same question must have been put to Sheila as well.
We were looking for coffee. We thought we'd have some before we headed back home.
Officer Cole smiled. The arrow she had shot in the dark had hit a spot. Officer Cole didn't budge and kept going. Rachel had given a different version of what Sheila had told her about.
What time did you guys drop her back?
Rachel, who was visibly rattled, slipped up.
We reached Skylar's home around 1:30 a.m. I thought you didn't go to her house. Instead...
As a young girl, Officer Gwen Cole used to maintain a diary to fill it with her emotions and her daily adventures. She knew she couldn't lie to her dear diary. Her idea to get into Skylar's mind was a hunch that if she as a teen maintained a diary religiously, it was possible that Skylar too maintained some record of her innermost feelings and desires in her online posts. She headed towards the Neese residence with Deputy Robin. However, she was unaware that another surprise was in store for her when she arrived. Just as she and Robin pulled up, they saw a woman standing outside talking to Dave. She wore a leather jacket with blue denim, had blonde hair, tied up, and wore brown boots. Cole's spirits tanked when she looked at her card that read FBI.
Shit!
What's up?
It's Agent Paula Banks.
Wait, the FBI?
Get ready to be booted off this case.
But why would the FBI get involved in a local case?
It's either because they think that this is linked to a bigger case, or they feel the local law enforcement isn't competent enough to crack the case.
Cole and Robin got out the car and walked towards Dave and Paula. Seeing the duo arrive, Dave promptly introduced them to the stranger.
Officer Cole, this is...
I know, Paula Banks, FBI. So, nice to have your acquaintance. Nice to meet you, Officer Cole. As you would have guessed, me and my team will be taking over this case. However, We would love your collaboration on the same to get us up to speed and see how we can work together in this.
Cole smiled as she soaked in the fact that all her hard work would be taken over by a leather jacket from the FBI, who might also later take credit for all the work.
Sure, I'll brief you about our investigation so far. Mr. Neese, if you could give me and Officer Banks a moment here.
Dave went inside and Cole briefed Paula about the ongoing events. Paula returned the favor and told her how she was drafted into this case while she was conducting an investigation for a couple of bank robberies in Blacksville, and how a link was generated between the thieves who were nowhere to be found and a teenager from Star City who went missing the very same night the robberies were conducted.
So, the idea is that maybe she posted what she actually felt about her two best friends on social media. One of them is pretty smart, but the other one, not so much. I threw her one curveball in the interrogation, and she blurted out a detail that they bought pot off the street nearby. Well, before we meet this drama queen, let's take a look at Miss Nee's online post, shall we? Sure. I'll also have Robin pull up the footage from any camera on the street from which the girls got their weed. We can use this footage to ambush Sheila in the next round of questioning.
Robin nodded and pulled the patrol car toward the station, while Officer Cole and Agent Banks went inside and asked Dave to take them to Skylar's room. Once they were inside, Paula saw that Skylar's room was a typical teenage girl would have. Pink was old-fashioned, so she had designed her room with a white and yellow theme. Right above her bed was a collage made of pictures of her with her friends and was adorned with fairy lights. Beside her bed, in front of the window, was her study desk. She had put a table lamp on it, along with a couple of small plants. In front of the bed were a few posters of One Direction and other musical boy bands.
So, where should we begin? This post says, "Pretty little liars keep on lying." This is from a kid named Kevin. That's from campus. There has been mounting pressure on the girls from all fronts. Family, friends, community, campus. Everyone seems to be pushing them to come clean with what they know. And where is Rachel in all of this? She looks like she is stonewailing everybody. Even her aunt can't seem to get through to her. She had been acting shady right from the start. When I asked her if Skylar was still with them when they were driving around Blacksville, she said yes. This means she was alive then, and probably is still so.
After a few minutes of reading through many posts, Paula read something that had suddenly intrigued her.
Funny how alone one would feel in a lip lock between two best friends. Wait, what? Are you saying Skylar was a lesbian? Either that or the rabbit hole goes deeper. What else could her post mean? She mentions Rachel and Sheila making out and locking her in the washroom. She talks about Sheila quite a lot, about how she always got away with anything and how she was involved with women. Skylar and Sheila were on the campus stage plays and loved acting. Maybe Sheila was play acting with Rachel, something that Skylar mistook for a relationship? Because if not, then this changes everything. It's obvious that both Rachel and Sheila would have read Skylar's angry post.
Was this a key twist in the case? Was this a crime of passion or simply a case of pure jealousy? The moment Paula Banks took over the case, news had spread like wildfire across Star City that the FBI had been assigned the case, and all sorts of rumors had begun to spread across town about what had actually happened to Skylar. Those reading and watching the news thought exactly like the FBI, that Skylar might have been in connection with someone involved in bank robberies in Blacksville, while others thought that she might have run away with a secret boyfriend.
I think we should still continue our questioning of the students at University High. They could probably help in telling us if the posts are actually true. That could be the right move. Did your deputy find a video of the trio scoring weed before they headed off? Yes. Robin is on his way to the school as we speak. Great. Once we gain a bit more information, we will isolate Sheila and Rachel to see what they know about the facts. I have a feeling that one of them will slip up.
Paula set up shop in a classroom that was allotted to the trio to interrogate other students. Cole and Robin were in the other room, combing through the footage received by Robin. Next up the list was Morgan, Skylar's childhood friend. She came into the room and sat in front of Paula.
Drunk and unaware, but it does seem more than that. All right, thanks, Morgan.
Morgan left the room and Paula called Cole.
Anything useful? Bullseye. Morgan just corroborated Skylar's mention of Sheila and Rachel kissing at a party. So, their closeness was no play acting for sure. I think it's time we prepare to isolate the duo and figure out what exactly happened the night they went out. Another twist in the tale is that both volunteered for this polygraph test today. Sheila is here. Rachel is expected in an hour.
2 rooms were prepared for the duo to interrogate Rachel and Sheila separately. The plan was simple: pit one against the other and see which one broke first. As Sheila stepped in, Officer Cole was ready with the lie detector test.
So, do your parents know about your sexual relationship with Rachel? What? The last time we met, you lied to me about the route. You didn't include the part where you bought weed near the coffee cart. So I thought, what else would you be hiding? A quick glance through Skylar's online posts and a few student interviews revealed more about you. So, do your parents know? I'll tell them if they ever ask. You also didn't happen to mention how you and Skylar were going through a bit of a rough patch during the time you guys sneaked out. That is what the night was for. We decided to mend our differences and enjoy as we did earlier. And what about the pot? Well, that was a one-time thing to celebrate a special night with my friends. And how would you react if a friend of yours threatened to expose your sexuality out in the public? What do you mean? Skylar knew about you and Rachel. What would you do to stop her from telling the truth? I don't understand. What would I do? You tell me. Okay, I agreed that Skylar and I were not on the best of terms during the time. We probably weren't even speaking to each other. But if you're suggesting what I think you are, then you need to know that I would never even think about doing something like this. I feel sick that you would think so far as to suggest that. I have been helping the Neese family since day one to figure out how to find Skylar. I would never even think about doing something like that.
With that, Sheila... 6 months had passed since Skylar had gone missing, but after scouring every possible lead, the Neeses were no closer to hearing any news about their missing daughter than they were on day 1. With Sheila's polygraph delivering shocking results, it was now time for Rachel to undergo the lie detector test. Officer Cole and Paula Banks thought that they were on the verge of a breakthrough when Rachel had a nervous breakdown, and from the looks of it, Banks sensed the truth was about to come out. Paula sat in her chair and pondered this latest twist.
Is it that our university's leading lady, Rachel Schaff, is not able to keep up the act anymore?
Rachel sat nervously in front of Paula and was constantly rubbing her thumbs to the side of her index fingers. She had just undergone a psychiatric evaluation and painted the picture of a nervous, scared, and exposed individual.
Rachel, firstly, thank you for your cooperation. You have been very patient throughout this investigation. Officer Cole told me that you told her about the weed.
Rachel didn't say anything and just nodded. Paula offered her a glass of water, which she quickly gulped down in one go.
Tell me, do you think Sheila and Skylar were great friends?
To get leads or a possible confession, Paula had to play carefully and lay her cards with caution. One slip and the case could be lost. So instead of charging directly to the point, she started to booby-trap Rachel.
Yeah, we were very close to each other. So, no friction? Never fought each other? We were known as the Three Musketeers. Nothing out of sorts ever happened between us. You keep referring to our musketeer in the past tense. You said you were the Three Musketeers, and you were very close to each other. Is there something we missed, Rachel?
Rachel skipped a heartbeat. She hadn't expected this curveball. What had she known that no one else did? Paula decided to mount the pressure.
Was Skylar also supportive about your and Sheila's relationship? Excuse me? Now, come on, Rachel. You and Sheila, didn't you used to kiss each other and lock Skylar in the bathroom? Sheila was here and talked about her relationships with various women. Wait, she told you that?
Rachel looked unnerved. Shaking in her chair, she reached for the tissue and dug her face into her palms.
So, it is true. You are a couple, aren't you? There's nothing wrong about this, you know. It's just natural. Please don't tell my parents or anyone else about this. I don't know how they will react to all this. We will be destroyed. You help me figure this out and I won't have to discuss anything with anyone. Now, what happened? Why were you so scared that your mother had to call 911? I have told you everything I know, time and time again. I just needed a break from all this. Wherever I go, people are talking shit about me and Sheila. I had enough of it.
With that, Rachel suddenly stood up and left the room in a hurry. Paula didn't follow her. She knew that the work had been done. The series of events over the course of the next few days would only magnify the doubt the police and the FBI had on Rachel and Sheila. Paula connected the evidence and events present in Skylar's tweets that could be found on Sheila and Rachel's profiles and found that several talked about accomplishing things and throwing shade upon the people trying to frame them.
Look at this. Sheila's Twitter looks like a storyboard. She's discussing her day-to-day.
On the 3rd of January 2013, the phone rang at FBI officer Paula Banks' office.
Hello, this is Paula Banks, FBI, the Special Investigator's Office.
This is Dave. Where's my daughter? It's been 6 months already!
Paula didn't know what to say to a broken father and mother. She could not reveal the details of the investigation to them. It had been a difficult year for the Neeses. They had endured the most painful 6 months any parent could think of, hoping every day that somehow Skylar would return to them.
Sir, we're trying our best. We're questioning everyone on the campus and building the chronology.
Paula couldn't reveal the details of the interrogations of Sheila and Rachel just yet.
Ah! Rachel, come down. Why? Why did she have to snatch her away from us? Sit down, now!
Rachel kept kicking and shaking violently, so much so that Paula needed an extra hand to pin her down.
Robin, get in here now!
Deputy Robin quickly rushed in and grabbed Rachel by her hands and calmly sat her down on the chair. Paula tucked her shirt in and gulped a glass of water and offered another to Rachel.
What are you teenagers up to? Take me through everything. We stabbed her!
Paula was shocked to hear Rachel's confession, but as a seasoned investigator, she couldn't afford to unnerve the teenager. She had to get all the detail.
I know this is difficult, Rachel. Tell me what happened that night.
Rachel's face had surprisingly turned calmer. She looked like someone who had been relieved of the unbearable weight on their shoulders.
Like I told you before, we picked Skylar up and bought a pot. We then headed towards the Mason-Dixon Highway. There, instead of turning left to come home, we took a right towards Blacksville and parked a little deep in the woods.
Paula was surprised how 3 teenagers would drive to a spot that was secluded, dark, and isolated, with no payphone or help that could reach them in need. Looking at her surprised expression, Rachel continued.
We chose the spot because it was off the highway in the thicket. It was also the perfect ruse. Skylar obviously would think that we had just stopped in the woods to smoke the joints. Did you choose the spot days ahead? No, it was spontaneous. And Skylar, who was in the back seat, didn't suspect a thing? She didn't have a clue. Continue. Once we parked the car, we sat in the grassy area. Sheila had the pot. We didn't have a lighter. which is when Skylar said that she had won and had to get it from the car. That is when we counted 1, 2, 3. Where were the knives? We concealed them in our hoodies.
Paula was stunned at the girl's audacity. Rachel couldn't speak further. Her voice broke and tears rolled down her face. Paula didn't say anything. She gave Rachel the time she needed to compose herself before continuing.
A 3? Sheila stabbed her first. Skylar didn't know what happened the first time, as the knife didn't go through. She probably thought Sheila had stumbled on her and offered her her hand. That is when what, Rachel? Sheila gashed her hand and then repeatedly started to slash at her. Skylar started screaming for help and ran. We followed her and tackled her down. Sheila then stabbed her again and again till she couldn't move. In 5 minutes, Skylar finally stopped responding. She was dead. What did you do then? For a second, both Sheila and I were shocked at what we had done. Talking about it and doing it were two very different things, and we were horrified. Since we did not have a shovel, we decided to hide the body under some rocks, leaves, branches, and garbage. We then decided to get out of there before anyone noticed anything. We then put the bloody clothes in the trunk, wiped the car clean, and went home. Do you remember Skylar's last words? Anything she might said?
Silence struck the room as this conversation ended. Rachel wept inconsolably as Paula passed the tissue box on her desk in front of her. She didn't say anything. She asked Rachel to take them back to the place where they had hidden the body and gave her an order not to speak a word of this to Sheila. She wanted Sheila to be out of context with everything that was going on so that they could catch her without her getting a whiff of it. Cole and Robin were having lunch when they received a call from Paula, who told them everything that was going on and asked them to join her to trace the crime scene. The two immediately dropped their lunches and drove with Paula. As Cole sat quietly beside Rachel in the back seat, she suddenly observed something.
Wait a minute. We just crossed a state line. That's right. We're not in West Virginia anymore. This is Pennsylvania, the town of Brave to be correct. Isn't it, Rachel?
And we're looking for Skylar in Blacksville all this while. No wonder why we couldn't find her.
This was calculated and planned, wasn't it, Rachel?
Rachel just hung her head and didn't say a word. When she finally guided the team to the location, a thick layer of snow had covered the area. Paula couldn't help but shudder at the thought that Skylar had been left here for 6 months, dead and unfound. With a strong strike to the frozen ground, Robin was able to crack open the earth until finally they all saw it.
Oh my God! God bless her soul.
All the three found was a skeleton hiding beneath a blanket. Sheila looked hopeless. She had just been cornered and proven to have killed Skylar Neese. With the DNA match proving her crime, it was now time for the prosecution to bring the motive of the crime to light.
Your Honor, what I'm going to present to you now will, in Skylar's own words, prove that Rachel Schoaf and Sheila Eddy were in fact not her best friends, but her worst enemies.
The Skylar Neese case had been in the public eye ever since the news of her disappearance broke out, with the community expressing their solidarity with the Neeses while also pressing and putting Rachel and Sheila under the scanner for their selective silence. The police had been helpless in their investigations without solid proof. And as Sheila and Rachel both went about their lives posting taunting tweets and leisurely photographs, unbeknownst to them, Skylar had already left hints that would lead the investigators right to the evidence.
Here in my hands, Your Honor, is Skylar's personal journal. In her own words, Skylar has confessed to having witnessed the sexual relationship between Sheila and Rachel, and on one occasion, having been locked away in the bathroom while the other two had sex.
It was true. Skylar had also followed up to this incident with tweets like, "I'd tell the whole school about the shit I have on everyone, and it is a lot." And just 1 month before she was murdered, another tweet that said, "Just know I know." The judge then asked Dave and Mary if Skylar could pose a threat to anyone claiming to disclose their secrets. The Neeses told the court that she had a lot of gay and lesbian friends and that she wasn't the one to rat anyone out on their sexual preferences. This put the pressure back on Sheila and Rachel, who now stood to pay for their crime in jail.
Before the sentence is announced, my client would like to apologize to the Neese family for the pain she has caused them.
Judge Harris gave Rachel the opportunity.
Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. and Mrs. Neese. I don't even know if there are words to apologize for the crime I have committed, and if there was a way to truly apologize for my actions that have caused you a great deal of pain and suffering. The person that did this was not me, not the way I am, want to be, or never was. I wish there were something I could do to reverse my actions and reduce the agony you both are facing today. But I know that no amount of words will make you forgive me. But I want you to know that I really am sorry for my part in what led to the death of Skylar, and I deserve the punishment I'm getting from the court right now.
The judge also let Dave speak a few words before announcing his decision. Dave got up from his seat and came forward near the microphone.
Thank you, Your Honor. The girl standing in front of you might seem to you as a normal teenager.
Had Sheila really had no remorse? That was the question her defiance had forced into everyone's minds. A few days later, on the 28th of January, 2014, Sheila surprised everyone by reversing her earlier statement and pled guilty to first-degree murder, offering no words of remorse.
Miss Eddie, you clearly have no empathy or remorse for a crime committed so gruesomely that it is an act of cowardice and a blot on something as pure and strong as the bond of friendship. You are hereby sentenced to prison with eligibility for parole in 15 years.
Sheila Eddy stood in the courtroom handcuffed. Moments ago, she had enjoyed a scrumptious breakfast with her mother at the Cracker Jack Cafe, when a police patrol car arrived and took her into custody on the spot. She now stood
But the court be told that Rachel Schoaf's testimony and gathered circumstantial evidence shall today corroborate the DNA proof shortly in this court. And it will be proven that Skylar Neese's murder was a carefully calculated and a well thought of pre-planned murder.
As the prosecutor proceeded to add pressure on Sheila, suddenly the doors to the courtroom opened and an officer carrying an envelope entered in between hushed, loud whispers and murmurs.
I'll have order and silence in this courtroom. Officer, please step forward with the envelope. The prosecutor may continue.
Your Honor, what you have in front of you are the DNA results from Miss Eddie's vehicle.
Sheila shifted in her seat and gulped down a glass of water as if she was anticipating the worst news of her life.
But Your Honor, before we do get to the conclusion of this shocking case, we all, as a society, want to know why these girls did what they did.
The prosecutor then turned to Sheila and approached her bench.
Miss Eddie, would you care to explain? Or should we do it for you?
Before the defense could say anything on Sheila's part, the teenager suddenly stood up.
I did it! Rachel is correct. We both planned it months ahead, and when the opportunity came, we did it!
There was hue and cry in the courtroom as Skylar's parents, Dave and Mary, stood up, stunned and shaken by Sheila's confession.
Order! Order! I will have anyone removed who caused a ruckus in my court. Miss Eddie, please take the chair. The prosecution may now question the suspect.
Miss Eddie, Skylar was a lovely teenage girl,
with dreams and goals, and just like you, she too had a family. Then why did you end her life? What wrong had she done?
Sheila looked up at the prosecutor. She was poker faced with no expression, like a stone.
We just didn't like her anymore.
The matter-of-fact reaction from Sheila shocked those present beyond relief. Sheila had made it sound just as casual as someone spits out a candy he or she doesn't like.
What? Is this a reason for snuffing out someone's life? From the forensic evidence, from your social media posts and photographs, quite a different picture was painted, Miss Eddie. Much more than someone just not liking someone.
Sheila did not respond. She had the right to remain silent until proven guilty and leveraged it till the end. The prosecutor then fetched an envelope similar to the one that had been handed to the judge earlier and opened it.
We know your rights, Miss Eddie, but they're about to be revoked. Your Honor, this is the copy of the original results of the DNA test conducted on Miss Eddie's vehicle, which has been delivered to you.
As the prosecutor read the envelope aloud to the court, Dave, Mary, Officer Cole, Agent Paula Banks, and Deputy Robin, along with Sheila's parents and the Star City community, waited with bated breath.
Your Honor, the bloodstains we found on Miss Eddie's vehicle matched those of the